happy Thanksgiving from all of us at GBS 7. The one to watch in Central New York.
The following program has been rated TV PG and is intended for all viewers. Viewer discretion is not advised.
That's odd. Usually he does his Thanksgiving special in this room, and yet, he's not here.
I guess he ran out of ideas after starting the Skyggles Nightmare project.
He can't burn out that quickly. His mind is like a comic book, bursting with eye-popping, mind-boggling ideas.
Do you have to make things sound way too real?
What? It's true.
Just shut up so we can find Brandon and tell him that the special is going on now.
Hey, I've never seen a Hall of Ideas room in the update set room. Maybe we can't find him in here.
I never knew that was there. Do you know anything about this?
What are you looking at me for? I'm new here. I don't know anything.
Well, when I came here last week to remind Brandon of his Thanksgiving Day special, that room wasn't there, so he must have installed it.
Should we go in? There's a sign saying don't enter unless you are a part of Maverick Hunter Society.
That's for visitors, aka the townspeople not involved with MHS. So let's go in.
Wow. I know he's creative, but man, this is too much. I mean, look down here. There's the cardboard case for Mega Man Chronicles Adventures right in front of us.
Let's just check and see if the game is. Oops, it was already open.
Hey, that's not the SNES port of Mega Man Chronicles Adventures. It seems like a game for Nintendo's 64-bit console, the Nintendo 64.
Wait, I don't remember N64 cartridges by Acclaim that weren't red. Did I remember them wrong? Because all I remember are the plain gray ones not by Acclaim or the black ones seen on WWF No Mercy by THQ and Jack Specific.
It's something Acclaim Entertainment did in the late 90s and early 2000s with their N64 games. Hey, wait a minute, is that? That's Brett Favre. This must be NFL Quarterback Club 2000, the last NFL QBC game to contain secret teams.
Wait, last. So there were no secret teams for QBC 2001 and 2002?
Apparently yes. QBC 01 had the normally unlockable teams unlocked off the bat, and QBC 02's only unlockables were legendary QBs unlocked after doing a specific task in single game, season, or the QB challenge mode, which was the main selling point for QBC 2002.
But wasn't the teams from future seasons that didn't match their real counterparts at all?
Yeah, threesomes in the 98 version were like that. Panthers vs Jaguars in Super Bowl 34, Bears vs Chiefs in Super Bowl 35, and, drat, I already forgot who the last two teams were.
Buccaneers and Bills in Super Bowl 36?
Oh, of course. Those pesky Patriots won that weren't in real life.
But are those simulations similar to the ESPN 25th anniversary simulations in NFL 2K5?
Madden did the same thing for the Xbox 360 and PS3 versions of Madden 09, Madden 10, Madden 11, Madden 12, and Madden 25.
Which one? The Madden moments were only from the season the game release date, not just old historic games. Also Madden 13 had them, not Man 25.
I assumed that because of the anniversary gimmick. Also, EA might have dug themselves a hole for naming it instead of using it for the 2024 game.
Hey, what's that?
Hey, this might be where he is. I can hear him.
What is he saying?
I don't think I have any ideas for the special. I'm gonna have to.
Wait, no.
Hey! That door cost me $576. Next time, not before you bust the door down.
Sorry, we just came here to remind you that.
Yeah, I know the Thanksgiving special is today. Thanks for.
Wait, oh no, it's today and I'm out of ideas. I'm panicking so much over this. What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? What do I do?
Get a hold of yourself, dude. We've got an idea for you to discuss.
Is the idea about the Arizona Cardinals.
Save it for next year. We've found this in your MMCASNES game box.
NFL Quarterback Club 2000. I thought I couldn't find this. I looked everywhere in my house and yet it's here. Why is this important? Wait, I think I remember something that was a mode in certain games. That's it. I'll do a video on the many situations across all NFL games to have the mode.
Oh my KSHB Kansas City NBC 41, really?
Also, this is the real cartridge, but the cartridge we'll be using is over there. Let's not waste any time. Let's get the show on the road. Also, thank you guys for the help with this collaboration.
Collaboration? What are you talking about?
You'll see. It's not that often I do a video game video on my channel. And that's coming from a guy who likes Capcom, as they tried to make a football game, and it's, well, not the best. But hey, it's better than what Konami did. Sorry Belmont fans. Anyways, Capcom aside, I'm a football fan, a massive one of that, and one of my favorite things to do in my free time is to play video games. But not just any type of video game, football video games. And no Europeans, FIFA doesn't count, since that's soccer in America. One of the most interesting ideas for an American football game is situations where you'd play as a certain team and either repeat or even rewrite history. These can actually be custom through the simulation mode, where you make your own scenarios, but that's usually made up. Some games have moments from past seasons that you can experience. So did I decided, why not go exploring and finding some of these historical NFL moments in video game form. Now I know what you're gonna say, hey MMB, does college football count in this exercise? And unfortunately that's gonna be a big fat no, since we're only doing professional football, and the NFL only. But don't worry, I will cover NCAA Football 2004 and 2005's College Classics mode in a different video, along with the Thunder challenges in the NASCAR games, Activision's Inside Line included because of its tagline Relive Rewrite History, which can be applied with what's going on here. Now since this video is gonna be a giant mess, both metaphorically and physically, I decided to let my fellow Maverick Hunters go give the take on these situations. I'm gonna start off with the game that started this trend, or at least started in my eyes, NFL Quarterback Club for the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis. I'm gonna use emulators for all these games since they're easier to capture, and because my SNES port on my Super Retro is a bit on the yellow screen side. But there may be just a RGB chip problem, from what I could find online. So for this, and since I've got the Sega Trimulator on my PC, called Kega Fusion, I'm gonna be using the 32X port, and if I can't find anything on this, I'll just go to the SNES port with SNES 9X. So let's begin. Now the 32X port is the graphical improvement over the Genesis version, since it's on more powerful hardware. But, the 32X version was released sometime in 1995, with the SNES, Genesis, and Game Gear versions released in December of 1994, and a Game Boy port released in November of 1993. Fun fact, the Game Boy and SNES versions were released by LJN, an American toy company and video game publisher based in New York City, founded in 1970 by Jack Friedman. The company was acquired by MCA Incorporated in 1985, sold to Acclaim Entertainment in 1990, and dissolved in 1994, hence why most of LJN's games were ports of Acclaim games for the SNES, Mortal Kombat being the major exception since it was originally released by Midway, and even that was released by Acclaim on Nintendo consoles, but they did give us the weird situation where a kid sued them because of the game in Major League Baseball not including licensed MLB PA players. Lawrence Kenge filed a lawsuit on the behalf of Clark Thiemann on January 31, 1990, against LJN, Nintendo, and Major League Baseball, claiming that the game Major League Baseball was falsely advertised to Thiemann, stating that it would allow him to simulate being a baseball team manager, and Kenge, stating that the game was advertised as having all of the players, but instead only had their uniform numbers, thus beginning LJN's eventual
downward spiral. I know. Don't make me reference implement.
Okay. Moving on to gameplay aspects. In this game, there are 30 situations you can play, so let's start with the first one. Situation number 1 for NFL quarterback club states the following scenario. September 26, 1988, Denver Broncos versus the Los Angeles Raiders. Denver led 24-0 at the half. LA would come back to within 3. With 7 seconds left, can you kick the field goal to force overtime and take the win, or will you risk going for a touchdown? Now, for starters, the overtime thing was introduced in 1974 to limit the number of ties in a season, but it was a concept that was used by the AFL prior to the NFL-AFL merger in 1970. The only tie from the 1988 season was the Week 5 match between the Kansas City Chiefs and the New York Jets. This game scenario is from Week 4, where the Raiders won the game on a field goal by Chris Bear. This win dropped the Broncos to 1-3 and moved the Raiders up to 2-2. For both teams, they didn't make the playoffs, which is shocking since the Broncos just came off of back-to-back Super Bowl appearances, losing to the Giants and Phil Simms in Super Bowl 21, and losing to the Giants' division rival Commanders. The next year, the 80s were rough for us, but we were contenders for most of the 80s, starting in 1984, or as in 1983, never mind. The Broncos would finish the 88 season at 500 with an 8-8 record, and the Raiders finished below 500 at 7-9. Now, for the game itself, according to Pro Football Reference, along with the football database, the Raiders scored their field goal to tie the game at 14 minutes and 56 seconds, aka 4 seconds left in regulation. The Raiders would then take it 12 minutes and 35 seconds in the overtime period, off of another field goal. The next year the Broncos made the third Super Bowl appearance in 4 years, losing horribly to Joe Montana and the 49ers, in what was Montana's last Super Bowl appearance, as he was traded to the Chiefs in 1993 in favor of Steve Young. And he retired after the 1995 season. Elway would eventually get his ring in Super Bowl 32 and Super Bowl 33, retiring as a back-to-back Super Bowl champion, beating both Brett Favre's Packers and the Falcons, who were dubbed the Dirty Birds for what they did last season. But I would have given them that nickname for their 2016 season, because memes, that's why. Now on to the next situation. And for this one, I'm gonna hand it over to my friend, the 49ers fan, Trevor Hughes.
December 4th, 1977, it's week 12 of the 1977 season, and we have a very cold matchup at Metropolitan Stadium, between the Minnesota Vikings and the San Francisco 49ers. For the Vikings, this game is just as important as if it wasn't. Win this one, and you improve to 8-4, and since Green Bay would be 3-9 after this week, the Lions 5-9, the Bears 7-5 and the Buccaneers 0-12, you would have a one-game lead over the Bears for the NFC Central crown. Lose this one, and you drop to 7-5 and are now tied with the Bears. As for my team, the 49ers, the season was already over for us, since we were third in the West coming into this game, as we were 5-6. If we won this one, we would be tied with the Falcons for second place in the West Division. But here's what actually happened. In the fourth, the 49ers led it 24-3. The Vikings scored 18 unanswered points to bring the score to 27-21. The task was to move the ball from their own 39 with 1 minute and 38 seconds left to steal the win. The 70s were rough for us Niners fans. We were awful almost every year until Montana came in to create a dynasty in 1979. As for this game, we buckled so hard in those last 1 minute and 38 seconds that at the end of the game, Tommy Kramer threw a touchdown pass to Sandy White. It was a 69-yard touchdown, which is not nice for us Niner fans. We ended the year 5-9, dropping our last 2 games after this. As for the Vikings, they won the NFC Central in a tie with the Bears, with matching 9-5 records. They won their divisional matchup against the Rams, taking it 14-7, but lost in the conference championship to the Dallas Cowboys, 23-6. That was the same Cowboys team that laid the smackdown on the Broncos in Super Bowl 12. Sorry, Brendan.
The Broncos' defense was just so dominant that they practically beat themselves in Super Bowl 12. Talk about running out of gas at the finish line, or in this case, Orange Crush. This next situation is about the 1976 Pro Bowl, so I'm gonna hand it over to my wife Cheyenne Miller for this one.
Remember when the Pro Bowl wasn't held in Hawaii? Well, the first one to be held in Hawaii was in 1980. Before then, it was held in a different stadium from 1973 to 1979. 1976's Pro Bowl was in the Louisiana Superdome, now known as the Caesars Superdome, sponsored by Caesars Entertainment, an American hotel and casino entertainment company founded and based in Reno, Nevada that operates more than 50 properties. Also, to catch you up on stadiums not mentioned, the stadium where the Raiders defeated the Broncos in Week 4 of 1988 was the old Mile High Stadium, now replaced with the new Mile High Stadium in 2001, sponsored by Empower, a retirement plan record-keeping financial holding company based in Greenwood Village, Colorado, United States. It is the second largest retirement plan provider in the United States. It's not related to the New York banking chain with the same name funded by the NCUA. As for Metropolitan Stadium, it now is where the Mall of America is now standing, as there's a plaque where home plate was in the stadium within the Nickelodeon Universe attraction in the mall. As for the current stadium the Vikings use, they use US Bank Stadium, built on the grounds of the Hubert H. Humphrey Metrodome, since that dome suffered a collapse in 2010. While it was being built, the Vikings played at the University of Minnesota's football stadium, Huntington Bank Stadium. Now, the situation was that the NFC was down 20-9 and came back with 14 unanswered points to win it 23-20. Unfortunately, there aren't any stats we could find. All we know that the AFC's Billy White Shoes Johnson was named the game's MVP on the strength of a 90-yard punt return touchdown and a second punt return of 55 yards that set up a field goal. So we'll move on to our next game, Super Bowl 5.
On January 17, 1971 and in Super Bowl V, the Colts were losing to the Cowboys 13-6, but with 9 minutes and 11 seconds remaining, the Colts drove from their own 20 and scored on a Tom Nowitzki 2-yard run. They then scored at the end of the game with a Jim O'Brien 32-yard field goal, to win it 16-13, giving the Colts their first ring. This game was held in Miami, at the Orange Bowl, which was the third Super Bowl to be held in Miami, as Super Bowls 2 and 3 were held there prior. As much as it hurt Colts fans after losing to the Jets in Super Bowl 3, this was redemption. And with a fully healthy Johnny Unitas to lead them to victory, the MVP was awarded to Chuck Howley, which marked the first and only time that a player from the losing team won a Super Bowl MVP. The Cowboys would also be the first and only team to have 2 Super Bowl MVPs in the same game, with Harvey Martin and Randy White winning it in Super Bowl 12. Miami Orange Bowl was shut down in 2008 and was replaced by Hard Rock Stadium, opened in nearby Miami Gardens in 1987, as both the home of the Dolphins and the main venue for the Capital One Orange Bowl. The Colts wouldn't win another championship in Baltimore, as they moved to Indianapolis in 1984 and won their second championship in 2006 with Peyton Manning. Moving on to our fifth scenario.
Speaking of Cowboy Super Bowls in Miami, Super Bowl 10 on January 18, 1976, also featured the Cowboys, in their first of 3 matchups with the Pittsburgh Steelers. In this hard-fought battle, Dallas led the Steelers 10-7 in the fourth. With 13 minutes and 11 seconds remaining, from their own 19, Terry Bradshaw, now known for his work with Fox, but back in the day was the man who carried the Steelers to glory in the 70s, once again carried the Steelers down the field and took a 21-10 lead on a Lynn Swann 64-yard touchdown pass from Terry Bradshaw. They had a safety and 2 Roy Jarrella field goals, one from 36 yards and the other from 18 yards, as prior to this touchdown they had a 15-10 lead. But now the game was in the Steelers' hands. and after the final whistle was blown, they won their second straight Super Bowl, taking it 21-17. Roger Staubach had a 34-yard touchdown to Percy Howard at the end of the game, but it wasn't enough. The Steelers would win 4 of their 6 Super Bowls in the 70s, with the first coming against the Vikings in Super Bowl IX, the second was here, the third was in Super Bowl XIII, again against the Cowboys, and Super Bowl XIV against a mediocre Rams squad. The other 2 was one in the Ben Roethlisberger era, one against the Seahawks and Cardinals in Super Bowls 40 and 43 respectively.
Now let's pause this for a second, since we've got some other stuff to go over. Firstly, thanks to everyone who subscribed this year to this channel. Special shout out to Tommy Cleo and Sputable SDB. The first one was a shout out reply to him giving us a shout out. And the second gave us an idea for a future episode for a future series. More on that in a bit. Secondly, although we haven't uploaded much, we are working on future projects, like Legendology and more MMC Cross HTF episodes. Thirdly, we also like to announce that 2 new series based on old HTF media are in production. One is based on the Battle Royale novel by Kashin Takami, with the HTF Phenon characters, as well as the 6 Phenon characters that were in the short-lived Battle Royale Flash series by Unreal Canine. The trailer for that is coming soon, as episode scripts for episodes 1 through 4 are complete. The other series is a series based on the HTF Mega Man game series Happy Tree Friends Adventures, called Happy Tree Friends Adventures X, the X being the connection between the Mega Man and HTF series, along with the fact that Brandon is in the series dating someone other than Flaky and Cheyenne Miller. The reason why Brandon is dating Giggles and not Snowers will be revealed when episode 1 comes out, if it does, since we've got projects all over the place that need finishing. Now, back to the show. Here's Alex Cicero with scenario number 6.
Another Pro Bowl scenario, this one from 1982. With the AFC leading 13-0 at the start of the 4th quarter, the NFC scored quickly but missed a PAT. Now with the score 13-6 and 2 minutes and 47 seconds left in the game, you needed to score with the NFC and hold on to win. This is our first scenario when we're trying to rewrite history. In the real 1982 Pro Bowl, the AFC won 16-13. The NFC gained a 13-13 tie with 2 minutes and 43 seconds to go when Tony Dorsett ran 4 yards for a touchdown. In the drive to the game-winning field goal, Dan Phelps completed 3 passes, including a 23-yarder to Kellen Winslow that put the ball on the NFC's 5-yard line to set up a 23-yard game-winning field goal by Nick Lowry to earn AFC a victory. Kellen Winslow of the San Diego Chargers and Leroy Simmons of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were named the game's MVPs.
The epic in Miami was the National Football League AFC divisional playoff game between the San Diego Chargers and Miami Dolphins that took place on January 2, 1982 in the Miami Orange Bowl. The game, won by the Chargers in overtime, 41-38, is one of the most famous in National Football League lore because of the enormity of scoring, with 79 combined points, the conditions on the field, the performances of players on both teams, and the numerous records that were set. Many former players, coaches and writers assert it as one of the greatest games in NFL history. It was also referred to in the Miami Herald as the miracle that died, while Sports Illustrated dubbed it the game no one should have lost. The game aired on NBC with Don Crikey and John Brody calling the action and Bryant Gumbel serving as the anchor, one of his final assignments for NBC Sports as he began co-hosting Today 2 days after the game. NFL 100 Greatest Games rated this game as the 4th greatest game. However, in this scenario, you are the 81 Dolphins and have to drive from your own 26 with 3 minutes and 33 seconds left in OT to change history. Instead of the Chargers winning 41-38, the Dolphins win with the exact same score. But in that universe, the Dolphins still end up losing to the Bengals in the AFC Championship, although with a much more closer score, say a 27-24 ball game, instead of the Chargers flopping on their faces in the biggest stage of their entire franchise. Well, since they won the AFL Championship in 1963, But that was before the AFL-NFL merger, so that doesn't count. There are also an alternate universe where the Chargers did end up beating the Bengals and made it to Super Bowl 16, where they experienced heartbreak 13 years earlier than in real life, and to the predecessor of Steve Young, Joe Montana. There's also another where the Dolphins win against the Chargers and then against the Bengals. Same story, but it would have been the Super Bowl 19 matchup in 1982, and not 1985. Also, with no Marino, they still get wrecked. Those 1981 Niners are considered one of the, if not the best team in the history of the NFL, even overthrowing the dominant Otto Graham 1950s Browns.
Even when they have the best team ever, the Browns still find a way to make their fans suffer.
On December 25, 1971, the Chiefs faced the Dolphins in this 1971 divisional matchup. The teams were tied at 24, and the game went to a second overtime period, since you can tie in the playoffs. It's either even or go home, buddy. Anyways, 8 minutes and 30 seconds left in the second OT, and Miami is faced with a fourth down from their own 25, with their back against the wall. Rod Brees did his magic and got in a position to allow their OE premium to kick the game-winning 37-yard field goal. The driving tenacity of these players was at its peak, as they didn't want to lose. However, they did lose in Super Bowl VI against the Cowboys. However, that was just a sight of things to come, as the Dolphins would go a perfect 14-0 the next year, with the closest team coming close to breaking their record of all wins and no losses was the 2007 Patriots. Unfortunately for the Pats, Eli Manning, David Tyree and Plaxico Burress happened, and the Eagle Empire was destroyed by a giant football player.
That was their logo from the 1950s, a giant football player in NYC. Anyways, the Dolphins of the early 70s also won Super Bowl VIII against the Vikings, in the Vikings' second appearance. The Vikings lost all 4 appearances, Super Bowl IV to the Chiefs, Super Bowl VIII to the Dolphins, Super Bowl IX to the Steelers and Super Bowl XI to the Raiders. This proved that the Vikings fail when they're relevant. Okay, at least it wasn't 4 consecutive Super Bowl losses, sorry Buffalo. Anyways, next.
So Brandon, who was the quarterback before John Elway came to town?
Steve DeBerg.
Yes, but who was their QB in 1979 when they came back and beat the Seahawks in Week 4?
It was still Craig Morton under center from Super Bowl 12, was it?
Yes, but the backups for him were Norris Weese and Craig Paynos.
Who?
That's because Craig was there all season.
Then why did you ask me stuff I probably don't know?
I'm just messing with you, buddy. Anyways, this Week 4 matchup between the Seahawks and Broncos got to an embarrassing start, falling behind 34-10 by midway through the fourth quarter. But in 9 minutes, the Broncos came back from 34-10 to win at 37-34. Dave Stoddard caught a 2-yard TD pass from Craig Morton to make that 34-17. Then Haven Moses caught an 11-yard TD pass from Craig Morton to make that 34-24. Then Rick Upchurch caught a 35-yard TD pass from Craig Morton to make that 34-31. Rob Little ran it in from 1 yard to make that 37-34. They tried a fake field goal, but that failed. The 2-point conversion wasn't established until 1994, so the fake field goal was the only option, but even that can fail. The Broncos got the first wild card, as the Chargers got the number 1 seed. The Broncos lost to Earl Campbell and the Oilers in the wild card. Houston beat San Diego in the divisional and lost to Pittsburgh in the conference championship, yet again showing that the Steelers of the 70s were the steel curtain.
Hey, I noticed something.
What is it?
Every decade had a team that were just plain dominate.
Explain.
Well, the 60s had the Packers, the 70s had the Steelers, the 80s had the 49ers, the 90s had the Cowboys, the 2000s and 2010s had the Patriots, and the 2020s had the Chiefs so far.
And that's just the Super Bowl era. Don't get me started on everything before 1966.
November 3, 1991 was a rainy day at Giant Stadium as the Jets and the Packers ended regulation tied at 16. Green Bay won the toss and received the ball. The Jets would get the ball back and Ken O'Brien got his team into field goal range for a 37-yard game-winning field goal by Pat Lake. The Jets won it 19-16 in OT. They were tied at the end of the first quarter, midway through the second, end of the third and the fourth. The score coming into OT was 16-all, as I already said. The Jets were 4-1 coming into the game, and led the series of 9-5, after New York's win in Week 6 of 2022. Also, Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers both left for the Jets, which didn't end well for both of them. Favre was released because of explicit pictures towards Jen Steg, and Rodgers, well, torn his Achilles and is using black magic to make it heal faster so he can come back at a time of need, or in this case, when the Jets are in the playoff picture. He might return in mid-December.
Speaking of Favre, the Packers got him in 1992 out of a trade with the Falcons, as they finished the season 4-12. The Jets got the number 6 seed with an 8-8 record, only to lose to the Oilers in the wild card. Those Oilers didn't make it far though, as they lost to the Broncos the next round, who proceeded to lose to the Bills in the conference championship. We all know what happened after that. As for Giants Stadium, it was replaced by nearby MetLife Stadium.
Going back to our division rival Chiefs, they didn't always play at Arrowhead. There was once a time where they played at a stadium called Kansas City Municipal Stadium. In fact, 1971 was the last season that they played there before moving to Arrowhead in 1972. Also, the Chiefs weren't always the Kansas City Chiefs. They were known as the Dallas Texans from 1960 to 1962. Well, that's all I'm gonna show you for now, since this is getting a bit on the long side.
I was hoping we were going to get to 15, but I understand why you did 10.
We don't want this video to drag on for hours, plus we have other projects.
Good point. As for this topic, there will be other videos covering this topic, and almost all of them are holiday specials, so we'll see you at Christmas for part 2, as we will have time for more of these situations in the future. Until then, bye for now.
Happy Thanksgiving from MMB Productions. See you later.
Before I end this episode, I have one more thing to announce. I'm planning to do a 3-part series on this game. As for every major holiday, Christmas, Halloween, Valentine's Day, you name it, we'll cover other games. The goal for this series is to explore games that have these modes with moments that you can play in. These videos won't be as frequent as, say, my MMC videos, but rest assured, I will explore these games and maybe get information for stuff I don't know. Anyways, see you at Christmas. A day as the span between Christmas and New Year's is too short, as we discuss games numbers 11 to 20 from NFL Quarterback Club. Until then, I'll see you then. Not counting New Year's as a major holiday as the span between Christmas and New Year's is too short.